Okay, let's dive right in. We're about to step back, way back, thousands of years, to look at a set of laws that are as fascinating as they are intense. This isn't just some dusty old list of rules. Think of it as a blueprint for society, a raw look into what a people valued, what they feared, and how they saw themselves. Today, we are cracking open the uncompromising world of Leviticus, chapter 20. So let me start by asking you a question. What kind of crime 3,000 years ago do you think deserved the ultimate punishment? The answers that are laid out in this ancient text, well, they paint a picture of a world where the stakes for how you behaved, both personally and as a community, could not have been higher. And let me tell you, they might not be what you expect. To really get our heads around this, we have to go directly to the source, this ancient and, frankly, deeply severe legal code. And here it is. This is the document we're looking at today, Leviticus chapter 20. It was essentially a rulebook, a moral and legal guide for the ancient Israelites on how to live, how to worship, and how to build their entire society. And as we're about to see, the rules were super specific, and the consequences, they were absolute. So where does a code like this even begin? What's the number one most important principle it establishes? Well, it all ticks off with this non-negotiable demand for absolute, totally undivided loyalty. Now, what's really telling is the very first thing it forbids. The text immediately calls out the worship of a deity named Moloch. Now, for the Canaanite people nearby, Moloch was tied to the horrifying practice of child sacrifice. So for the Israelites, this was the ultimate betrayal. Not just worshiping some other god, but doing something that was the complete, horrific opposite of their entire moral foundation. And the punishment for this disloyalty, it's stated right here, with zero ambiguity. It's not just death. Notice the specific wording. The people of the land shall stone him. This wasn't some private execution. No, this was a public communal responsibility. The entire community had to physically remove this ultimate sin from their society. And this demand for exclusive loyalty didn't stop with other gods. Verse 6 also makes it illegal to go looking for spiritual guidance from other sources, like mediums or sorcerers. The punishment for that was being cut off from among their people. And that was a huge deal. It wasn't just being ignored at a party. It was basically excommunication, exile, a kind of social and spiritual death, where you lost everything: your identity, your protection, your community. All right, so after establishing that absolute loyalty to God, the code then pivots. It moves on to the very foundation of society itself, the family, and the rules that keep social order. Just take a look at this table. It gives you a really stark overview. The absolute nature of these laws is just, wow. Cursing a parent? That wasn't just being rude. It was a capital crime. It was seen as a total breakdown of the social fabric. Adultery, which is a serious offense in a lot of cultures, meant death for both people involved. And all these other forbidden acts all carried that same final penalty. A key phrase that keeps popping up in the text is, "Their blood shall be upon them," which basically puts all the blame, all the responsibility for their own death squarely on the offenders. This was all about keeping a really rigid, predictable moral structure. Okay, so you see all of this laid out: the absolute loyalty, the strict family laws, the constant threat of death. And it really makes you ask a pretty fundamental question, right? Why? What was the driving force, the logic behind a code that was so incredibly uncompromising? And you know what? The text itself gives us a very clear answer. The whole point, the central idea behind all these laws, was to create a people who were totally and completely set apart from everyone else. The code's own logic is spelled out for us in verse 23. It tells the Israelites not to live by the customs of the nations they were displacing. And why not? Because, according to the text, those nations were kicked out because of these very practices: the child sacrifice, the sexual chaos, consulting other spirits. The reasoning is direct. If you want to get this land and keep it, you have to be morally and spiritually different from the people who were here before you. And this slide right here, this really gets to the core mission statement of the entire chapter. This line from verse 26 is the key to everything: "and have severed you from other people, that ye should be mine." That's the why. The severity, the obsession with purity, the strict boundaries, it was all designed to forge a unique identity, to literally sever this one group from all the others and dedicate them to their God. This was nation building through divine law. The chapter then brings it all home, circling right back to one of its first points and delivering it like a final, emphatic warning. So as you can see, the very last verse, verse 27, goes right back to that theme of rejecting any rival spiritual practices. It reinforces the death penalty by stoning for anyone who's a medium or a wizard. It's like a bookend for the whole chapter. It starts and ends with this uncompromising demand for singular spiritual loyalty, just hammering that point home one last time.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? We've just explored a pretty intense ancient legal world. But the core ideas, forging a group identity through strict laws, defining a community by separating it from others, linking morality to a national destiny, those things aren't just ancient history. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How do these ancient ideas of purity and separation, laid out so starkly thousands of years ago, still echo in our world today?